Theosophy stands at the crossroads of ancient wisdom and modern spirituality, offering a unique synthesis of diverse traditions and a universal perspective on humanity's spiritual evolution. Coined from the Greek Theosophia, meaning divine wisdom, Theosophy seeks to illuminate the mysteries of existence, bridging gaps between science, religion, and philosophy. Emerging in the late 19th century, the movement positioned itself as a response to the materialism and industrialization of the era, which many perceived as eroding humanity's spiritual foundations. At its core, Theosophy proposes a vision of unity, connecting humanity to the cosmos and unveiling the hidden dimensions of life. Theosophy's teachings, introduced by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky and further developed by key figures such as Henry Steele Olcott and Annie Besant, draw heavily from a vast array of spiritual traditions. Its texts are rich with references to Hinduism, Buddhism, Neoplatonism, Kabbalah, and Gnosticism, reflecting an ambition to uncover universal truths that transcend cultural and temporal boundaries. Through concepts like karma, reincarnation, and the evolution of consciousness, Theosophy aimed to provide not only a spiritual framework, but also a blueprint for individual and collective transformation. However, Theosophy's emergence was not without controversy. While it inspired global movements and influenced the development of modern spirituality, it also faced criticism for cultural appropriation, claims of pseudoscience, and internal divisions, not to mention some blatant racism. Today's video will explore Theosophy's historical foundations, core teachings, and contributions to modern thought, while addressing its criticisms and ongoing relevance. But first, I would just like to mention that if you would like to support me and this channel, then please head on over to my Patreon, where you can subscribe to the supporter tier for only $3 a month, or get into more magical leanings and teachings with the various other tiers, especially those of the Temple of the Horned Serpent. And I would just like to send out my appreciation to those that have joined and are supporting me in this manner. It really does mean a lot, and it goes a long, long way. Theosophy as a spiritual movement is deeply rooted in the rich soil of both Western esotericism and Eastern mysticism, emerging at a time when the world was undergoing profound cultural and intellectual transformations. To understand Theosophy's historical foundations, one must explore the influences that shaped its development, the visionaries who brought it to life, and the circumstances that allowed it to flourish on a global scale. Theosophy represents a synthesis of ancient spiritual traditions and esoteric philosophies, drawing from both the mystical heritage of the East and the esoteric undercurrents of the West. Western influences included Neoplatonism, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and Gnosticism, each of which contributed ideas about the divine nature of reality, the hidden wisdom behind creation, and the spiritual evolution of humanity. These traditions emphasize the interconnectedness of all things, the existence of higher realms of consciousness, and the transformative power of gnosis, or direct spiritual knowledge. Eastern philosophy, particularly Hinduism and Buddhism, also played a crucial role in shaping Theosophy's worldview. Concepts such as karma, reincarnation, and the cyclical nature of existence were integral to theosophical teachings. The ancient Vedic texts, the Upanishads, and the teachings of Buddha became cornerstones of theosophical literature, inspiring its emphasis on spiritual evolution and the unity of all life. Unlike early Western esoteric movements, which were often confined to secret societies and occult circles, Theosophy sought to make these profound ideas accessible to a broader audience by presenting them as part of a universal spiritual tradition. The formal establishment of Theosophy as a movement can be traced to 1875, when Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, Henry Steele Olcott, and William Quan Judge founded this Theosophical Society in New York City. Blavatsky, a Russian mystic and scholar, was the driving force behind Theosophy's creation. Having traveled extensively in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, she claimed to have studied with spiritual adepts in Tibet, India, and other regions, gaining access to esoteric knowledge that would later form the foundation of Theosophy's teachings. Blavatsky's seminal works, Isis Unveiled, which was published in 1877, and The Secret Doctrine, published in 1888, became the intellectual cornerstones of the movement. In these texts, she sought to demonstrate the existence of an ancient universal wisdom tradition that underpinned all religious and philosophical systems. The Secret Doctrine, in particular, introduced the concept of the three fundamental propositions, which outlined the eternal nature of the cosmos, the universality of cyclic law, and the spiritual unity of all life. These ideas were presented as revelations of the ancient wisdom, a body of knowledge preserved by enlightened beings known as the Mahatmas or Masters. Blavatsky's claims of contact with these masters, ascended spiritual beings who guided humanity's evolution, became a defining yet controversial aspect of Theosophy. Letters allegedly written by the Mahatmas, particularly the masters Maurya and Kut Humi, were shared with Theosophical members and played a significant role in shaping the movement's direction. While many embraced these teachings, skeptics questioned the authenticity of Blavatsky's claims, accusing her of fraud. Despite such controversies, her charisma and vision propelled Theosophy into the international spotlight. Under the leadership of Blavatsky, Olcott, and Judge, the Theosophical Society quickly expanded its reach beyond the United States, establishing branches in Europe, India, and other parts of the world. The Society's relocation to India in 1879 marked a turning point as it brought Theosophy into direct dialogue with Eastern spiritual traditions. In India, the Society became a platform for promoting interfaith dialogue and the revival of indigenous spiritual practices, earning both admiration and criticism for its efforts. After Blavatsky's death in 1891, Annie Besant, a prominent social reformer and activist, emerged as a key leader of the movement. Besant, along with Charles Webster Leadbetter, further developed theosophical teachings and expanded the Society's influence. Besant's leadership coincided with a period of institutional consolidation and doctrinal expansion, as the Society sought to position itself as a global spiritual force. During this time, Theosophy influenced a range of intellectual and cultural movements, including the rise of Indian nationalism, the burgeoning New Age movement, and the development of esoteric art and literature. Figures such as Jiddu Krishnamurti, an Indian philosopher initially groomed by Theosophists as a spiritual world teacher, brought additional attention to the movement, though his eventual rejection of Theosophy sparked significant controversy. At the heart of Theosophy lies a vast and intricate philosophy that seeks to illuminate the mysteries of existence, the nature of humanity, and the cosmos itself. Theosophy presents itself not as a religion, but as a system of universal truths drawn from the ancient wisdom underlying all spiritual traditions. Its teachings are profound, often complex, and deeply rooted in metaphysical speculation and esoteric thought. The foundation of theosophical philosophy is encapsulated in what Blavatsky referred to as the three fundamental propositions outlined in her magnus opus, The Secret Doctrine. These propositions serve as a guiding principle of theosophy. First is the omnipresent, eternal, boundless, and immutable principle. So we find that theosophy begins with the assertion that there exists a singular, infinite, and eternal reality, sometimes referred to as the Parabrahm in Hindu philosophy. This principle is beyond human comprehension, transcending all dualities, forms, and concepts of existence. It is the source from which all things emanate and into which all things eventually return. This proposition affirms the unity of all existence and denies the idea of a personal deity, in favor of an impersonal universal consciousness. Secondly, in the propositions is the universality of cyclic law. Theosophy teaches that the universe operates according to immutable and universal laws, chief among them being the law of cycles. All phenomena, whether cosmic or individual, unfold in repetitive cycles of birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. This idea is closely tied to the concepts of reincarnation and karma, where individual souls evolve through countless lifetimes, guided by the principles of cause and effect. And thirdly is the unity of all life and the evolution of consciousness. Being the third proposition, this asserts that all beings are fundamentally interconnected and partake in a shared spiritual essence. Humanity, like all life forms, is engaged in a vast evolutionary journey, striving towards higher states of consciousness. Theosophy posits that this evolutionary process is not merely physical but deeply spiritual, involving the refinement of the soul across many lifetimes and dimensions of existence. These three propositions form the philosophical bedrock of Theosophy, providing a framework for understanding the cosmos, humanity, and the spiritual path. One of the most distinctive aspects of Theosophy is its detailed exploration of human nature, which it describes as a composite of 7 interrelated principles. These principles are often divided into 3 broad categories: physical, and astral, and spiritual. And these seven bodies are as follows. Firstly, the physical body, or the Sthula Sharira. I'm not really sure how you pronounce that. This is the material, mortal form through which the soul experiences the physical world. Then we have the vital energy, or prana, which is the life force that animates the physical body, connecting it to the universal energy field. The astral body, or the linga sharira, the subtle etheric double of the physical body, serving as a bridge between the material and higher planes. Then we have the desire body, or the kama, and this is the seat of emotions, desires, and passions that drive human behavior. Then the mind, or the manas, divided into lower and higher aspects. The mind represents the dual nature of human consciousness, or the intellect tied to the material world versus higher thought aligned with spiritual truths. The soul, or higher self, which is the buddhi, this is the principle of spiritual intuition and wisdom linked to universal consciousness. And lastly, the spirit, or atma, which is the divine spark within each individual, a fragment of the omnipresent eternal principle. And these sevenfold model highlights Theosophy's holistic understanding of the human experience, emphasizing that true spiritual evolution involves integrating and transcending these various aspects. Central to theosophical belief is the existence of the masters, or Mahatmas. And if you remember me reviewing The Ancient Wisdom by Jeffrey Ash last month, a lot of this plays into that book as well. But these masters, or Mahatmas, are said to be highly evolved spiritual beings who have attained profound wisdom and serve as guardians of the ancient wisdom. These masters, such as Maurya and Kuthumi, are believed to dwell in remote parts of the world, particularly the Himalayas, where they continue their spiritual work away from public view. Theosophists claim that the masters communicate with humanity through chosen intermediaries, providing guidance and insight into spiritual and cosmic laws. Madame Blavatsky herself claimed to have been in direct contact with these beings, and their letters to various theosophists remain an important part of the movement's legacy. However, the existence of the masters has been a subject of considerable skepticism, with critics viewing them as mythical constructs rather than real individuals. For adherents, the masters represent a profound ideal of spiritual attainment, symbolizing humanity's potential to transcend the limitations of material world and achieve enlightenment. Theosophy's syncretic nature is one of its defining characteristics. It seeks to unify the spiritual wisdom of diverse traditions into a single coherent system. Ancient texts such as the Vedas, Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and Buddhist sutras are frequently referenced in theosophical writings, as are Western esoteric traditions like Kabbalah, Neoplatonism, and Gnosticism. This approach is guided by the belief that all religions and philosophies contain fragments of a universal truth, which Theosophy endeavors to uncover and synthesize. However, this ambitious project has drawn criticism for oversimplifying or misinterpreting the original contexts of these traditions, turning the so-called syncretic approach into appropriation. A central tenet of Theosophy is the idea of spiritual evolution, which extends beyond the physical theory of evolution proposed by Darwin. Theosophy teaches that evolution is a cosmic process involving not only the development of forms, but also the refinement of consciousness. Humanity, in this view, occupies a unique position in the evolutionary journey. Theosophy portrays humans as spiritual beings in a temporary physical form, tasked with realizing their divine potential through lifetimes of growth and self-discovery. This process is guided by karma, the law of cause and effect, which ensures that every action has consequences that shape future experiences. The ultimate goal of spiritual evolution is to achieve unity with the divine principle, transcending the cycle of birth and rebirth. This journey is not solitary. Theosophy emphasizes the importance of compassion and service to others as integral to spiritual growth, reflecting the interconnectedness of all life. Theosophy's influence extends far beyond its role as a 19th century spiritual movement. Its ideas have left a significant mark on various aspects of modern thought, including religion, philosophy, science, art, and culture. By reintroducing ancient wisdom in a form accessible to contemporary audiences, Theosophy catalyzed significant shifts in how spirituality and human existence are understood. Its contributions can be seen in the rise of comparative religion, the popularization of Eastern philosophies in the West, the evolution of the New Age movement, and its impact on art, literature, and even scientific discourse. One of Theosophy's most lasting contributions is its role in fostering cross-cultural understanding between Eastern and Western spiritual traditions. At a time when imperialism often relegated non-Western cultures in a subordinate status, Theosophy introduced Western audiences to the richness of Hinduism, Buddhism, and other Eastern philosophies. By highlighting concepts such as karma, reincarnation, and meditation, Theosophy not only popularized these ideas in the West, but also inspired a deeper appreciation for the spiritual insights of the East. Figures such as Annie Besant and Helena Blavatsky were instrumental in this effort, framing Western teachings not as exotic curiosities, but as profound systems of thought with universal relevance. This approach laid the groundwork for the later global spread of Eastern spirituality, influencing the work of spiritual leaders like Swami Vivekananda and Paramahansa Yogananda. Theosophy's emphasis on universal truths helped challenge ethnocentric worldviews and contributed to the development of comparative religion as a scholarly discipline. Having said that, if or when you read through Blavatsky's works, you may find, as I did, that you are rather appalled by the racism that comes through in her treatment of many of the Eastern and African peoples, whom she refers to as savages, not to mention her blatant misinterpretation of things such as Kali, whilst trying to portray a deep knowledge and love for Hindu philosophies. But throughout her works, you will discover the influences of modern occultism. But just bear these things in mind whilst you venture down that particular rabbit hole. Theosophy can be considered one of the foundational influences on the modern New Age movement. In fact, I would suggest it was the catalyst itself. Many of the movement's core ideas, such as spiritual evolution, the interconnectedness of all life, and the existence of higher planes of consciousness were first popularized by theosophical teachings. The emphasis on personal spiritual exploration, esoteric practices, and alternative healing methods that characterize the New Age movement owes much to theosophical principles. In particular, Theosophy's concept of the subtle body, with its astral, mental, and spiritual layers, has been integrated into New Age thought and practices, including energy healing, chakra work, and the exploration of altered states of consciousness. Theosophy's broad, inclusive approach to spirituality also prefigured the eclecticism of the New Age movement, which draws from a wide range of traditions and philosophies. Theosophy's metaphysical vision has profoundly influenced art and literature, particularly in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Theosophical ideas inspired many modernist and avant-garde artists who found in its teachings a source of imaginative and symbolic depth. Artists such as Wassily Kandinsky and Pete Mondrian were influenced by Theosophy's exploration of higher planes of existence, incorporating its abstract and spiritual principles into their works. Kandinsky's book concerning the spiritual in art, published in 1911, explicitly reflects theosophical concepts, emphasizing art's role as a bridge to higher realities. In literature, theosophical themes can be found in the works of authors such as W.B. Yeats, James Joyce, and T.S. Eliot. Yeats, in particular, was deeply involved in theosophical circles and incorporated its symbols and ideas into his poetry. The movement's fascination with hidden knowledge and the mysteries of existence resonated with the modernist preoccupation with exploring new dimensions of meaning and experience. Theosophy also left its mark on popular culture, influencing the science fiction and fantasy genres. Ideas about advanced spiritual beings, hidden dimensions, and the evolution of consciousness can be traced back to theosophical texts, which inspired works ranging from H.P. Lovecraft's cosmic horror to the utopian visions of Olaf Stapledon. Theosophy's approach to science was revolutionary for its time, proposing that spiritual truth and scientific inquiry were not mutually exclusive but complementary. Blavatsky's writings often criticized materialist science for its failure to recognize the deeper spiritual dimensions of reality. Instead, Theosophy offered a holistic vision in which science, philosophy, and spirituality were unified in the search for universal truth. This perspective anticipated many of the ideas that would later emerge in fields such as quantum physics, systems theory, and consciousness studies. Theosophy's emphasis on the interconnectedness of all things resonates with contemporary scientific concepts, such as the entanglement of particles and the holistic nature of ecosystems. Furthermore, its exploration of subtle energies and higher dimensions foreshadowed the scientific fascination with phenomena beyond the observable physical world. While Theosophy's scientific claims were often speculative and lacked empirical support, its holistic worldview helped to inspire a broader dialogue about the integration of spiritual and scientific perspectives. This dialogue continues today in the form of interdisciplinary fields such as integral theory and the study of consciousness. Theosophy's impact was not limited to the realm of ideas. It also played a role in social and political movements. In India, Theosophy contributed to the cultural and spiritual revival that underpinned the rise of Indian nationalism. Annie Besant, who became the president of the Theosophical Society, was a prominent advocate for Indian self-rule and worked to revive interest in India's spiritual heritage. It is said that her efforts helped inspire figures such as Mahatma Gandhi, who admired Theosophy's emphasis on the unity of all life and the pursuit of truth. Theosophy's contributions to modern thought are both profound and far-reaching, spanning disciplines and influencing generations of thinkers and seekers. While the movement itself has waned in prominence, its ideas continue to resonate in contemporary spirituality, art, science, and social activism. Theosophy's insistence on the unity of all life and the interconnectedness of humanity and the cosmos remains a powerful antidote to the fragmentation and alienation of modern life. While Theosophy has left a profound legacy in modern spirituality and thought, it has also been a subject of significant criticism and controversy. From accusations of fraud and cultural appropriation to disputes over its metaphysical claims and internal divisions, Theosophy's journey has been far from smooth. Examining these criticisms is crucial to understanding the broader context of the movement, its challenges, and its contentious position in the spiritual and intellectual landscape. One of the most persistent criticisms of Theosophy centers on accusations of fraud, particularly regarding its founder, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Blavatsky claimed to have received teachings from advanced spiritual beings or masters, and to have communicated with them through letters and astral means. While many followers accepted these claims as genuine, skeptics and investigators have questioned their authenticity. In 1884, the Society of Psychical Research, or the SPR, published a report by investigator Richard Hodgson alleging that Blavatsky had fabricated the letters purportedly sent by the masters and had orchestrated phenomena to appear supernatural. The Hodgson report branded her a fraud, and though it was criticized as biased and later partially re-evaluated, its impact was significant. To this day, the authenticity of Blavatsky's claims remains a polarizing issue, with critics dismissing her as a charlatan and supporters defending her as a misunderstood mystic. Blavatsky's larger-than-life persona, marked by her bold assertions and colorful storytelling, further fueled skepticism. While some viewed her as a spiritual visionary, others saw her as an opportunist who skillfully wove a compelling but ultimately fictional narrative around her teachings. Theosophy's embrace of Eastern spiritual traditions has been both celebrated and criticized. While the movement played a pivotal role in introducing Hinduism, Buddhism, and other Eastern philosophies to Western audiences, it has also been accused of cultural appropriation and misrepresentation. Blavatsky and her successors often reinterpreted Eastern teachings through a theosophical lens, blending them with Western esotericism and presenting them as part of a universal ancient wisdom. Critics argue that this approach sometimes distorted the original meanings and contexts of these traditions, oversimplifying or selectively borrowing concepts to fit theosophical frameworks. For example, the concept of karma was reframed in ways that diverged from its traditional interpretations in Hindu and Buddhist philosophy. It is these misinterpretations which play a large role in why we have such difficulties with these concepts in our modern New Age spiritual movement. Moreover, some have criticized Theosophy for its perceived paternalistic attitude towards Eastern cultures. While Theosophists often expressed admiration for the spiritual depth of the East, their writings sometimes suggested that Theosophy could restore or reform these traditions, implying a superiority of their synthesis over the original systems. This dynamic has led some scholars and practitioners to view Theosophy as a product of Western colonial attitudes, even as it sought to challenge Western materialism. Theosophy's metaphysical and cosmological claims have often been criticized as pseudo-scientific and lacking empirical evidence. Concepts such as the existence of astral planes, the Akashic records, and the evolutionary journey of human souls through root races have been dismissed by many as speculative or fantastical. The notion of root races, in particular, has drawn significant scrutiny. Theosophy posits that humanity evolves through a series of root races, each representing a stage in spiritual and physical development. While it is speculated that this idea was intended as a metaphysical framework, its language and implications have been criticized for perpetuating racial hierarchies and echoes of 19th century scientific racism. Critics argue that Theosophy's descriptions of certain races as more evolved or less evolved reflect the biases of its time and risk being misinterpreted or misused to justify discriminatory ideologies. Furthermore, Theosophy's efforts to align its teachings with scientific principles have been met with skepticism. While its holistic worldview has inspired interdisciplinary dialogues, many scientists and philosophers remain unconvinced by its metaphysical assertions, viewing them as lacking the rigor and testability required of scientific theories. The Theosophical movement has also been plagued by internal conflicts and schisms, which have undermined its cohesion and credibility. Following Blavatsky's death in 1891, disputes over leadership and the interpretation of her teachings led to the fragmentation of the Theosophical Society. Prominent figures such as Annie Besant, William Quan Judge, and Rudolf Steiner each pursued their own visions of Theosophy, resulting in competing factions and organizations. Steiner's departure to establish Anthroposophy, for instance, reflected his dissatisfaction with the Society's direction and his desire to develop a more distinct spiritual path. The controversy surrounding Jiddu Krishnamurti further exemplifies these divisions. Besant and Charles Webster Leadbetter, leaders of the Theosophical Society, declared Krishnamurti to be the world teacher foretold in Theosophical prophecy. However, Krishnamurti later rejected this role and distanced himself from Theosophy, disbanding the Order of the Star and criticizing the institutionalization of spiritual truth. His repudiation dealt a significant blow to the movement, raising questions about its prophetic claims and the authority of its leaders. Another recurring criticism of Theosophy is its perceived elitism. The movement's emphasis on esoteric knowledge and its often complex arcane language have led some to view it as inaccessible or overly intellectualized. Theosophical writings frequently assume familiarity with a wide range of philosophical, religious, and mystical traditions, making them daunting for newcomers or those without a scholarly background. Moreover, the idea of spiritual evolution through successive incarnations has been reinterpreted by some as promoting a hierarchical view of humanity where individuals are ranked according to their spiritual development. While Theosophy emphasizes the potential for all beings to achieve enlightenment, its language and frameworks have sometimes been seen as exclusionary or dismissive of those perceived as being at lower stages of evolution. Theosophy's universalist approach to spirituality has often put it at odds with organized religion. By claiming to reveal the hidden truths underlying all religious traditions, Theosophy has been accused of undermining the uniqueness and authority of specific faiths. Christian critics, in particular, have viewed Theosophy as heretical, objecting to its rejection of personal deities, its reinterpretation of Jesus as an advanced spiritual teacher rather than the incarnate Son of God, and its incorporation of occult practices. Surprise, surprise. Similarly, some adherents of Eastern religions have expressed discomfort with Theosophy's reinterpretation of their teachings, seeing it as an external imposition rather than a genuine expression of their traditions. These tensions highlight the challenges of Theosophy's ambitious attempt to synthesize diverse spiritual systems into a unified framework. Theosophy's history is marked by both profound inspiration and intense controversy. Its bold claims, ambitious synthesis of spiritual traditions, and charismatic leaders have attracted devoted followers and skeptical critics alike. While its teachings have been celebrated for their universalist vision and spiritual depth, they have also been criticized for their speculative nature, cultural misappropriation, and internal conflicts. Despite these challenges, Theosophy's enduring influence on spirituality, philosophy, and culture suggests that its controversies are as much a testament to its impact as its successes. For better or worse, Theosophy has carved a unique and complex niche in the history of human thought, continuing to provoke discussion, exploration, and debate. Theosophy, born from the confluence of Eastern spirituality and Western esotericism in the late 19th century, has left its mark on modern thought, offering a vision of human evolution, spiritual growth, and universal unity that continues to resonate across cultures and time periods. Its founders, especially Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, set the stage for an expansive worldview that seeks to unify science, religion, and philosophy through the lens of ancient wisdom. As we examine its history, teachings, contributions, and challenges, it becomes clear that Theosophy's influence is not confined to a single moment in time, but is instead a living tradition that adapts and evolves in response to the changing needs and questions of each era. As Theosophy continues to evolve, its potential lies in its ability to inspire individuals and communities to engage with the mysteries of existence in a holistic and integrative way. By promoting a vision of humanity as part of a larger interconnected cosmos, Theosophy encourages both personal and collective transformation. Its teachings remind us of the sacredness of life, the importance of ethical action, and the capacity for spiritual growth that transcends the limitations of the material world. In conclusion, Theosophy's place in the 21st century is not one of obsolescence, but of adaptation and reinvention. It is a tradition that speaks to the timeless human quest for meaning, purpose, and unity, offering a path forward that is both grounded in ancient wisdom and open to the discoveries of the modern world. Whether as a formal system of belief or a source of personal inspiration, Theosophy continues to provide a framework for those seeking a deeper connection to themselves, to others, and to the mysteries of the universe. Its enduring legacy challenges us to envision a future where humanity and the cosmos are bound together by the threads of wisdom, compassion, and spiritual evolution. So, for those interested in delving deeper into Theosophy, there is a wealth of literature that covers its foundational principles, history, and influence on contemporary thought. Now, although Theosophy was a major influence on various occult movements in the late 1800s and early 1900s, such as the Golden Dawn and people like Crowley and Dion Fortune, there isn't much in the way of contemporary literature. Any such references tend to turn to your basic modern New Age spirituality. However, um, here are some of the best books for learning about Theosophy itself, and as usual, you'll find a link up the top and in the description below to my Amazon storefront and to a category which holds these books. If you want to go buy them, I really do appreciate it. It gives me a commission, which I then use to buy more books to do more reviews. So it goes round in a cycle. So the first book, obviously, is The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky herself. This is the cornerstone work of Theosophy. It tends to explore profound spiritual concepts such as the origins of the universe, human evolution, and the nature of reality. The work is divided into two volumes. The first addresses cosmogenesis, or the origins of the universe, and the second focuses on anthropogenesis, or the evolution of humanity. Though it's complex and dense, it is a key text for anyone wanting to understand the deeper philosophies of Theosophy. However, before The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky wrote Isis Unveiled, which presents an overview of her thoughts on science, religion, and philosophy. The book critiques materialism and Western scientific thinking, promoting a more mystical and spiritual approach to understanding the world. It introduces many of the core concepts of Theosophy and has been instrumental in the development of the movement. But many people find those two books very difficult to get through. So Blavatsky also wrote The Key to Theosophy, which is a more accessible introduction to Theosophy itself. It's written as a dialogue between a theosophical teacher and an inquiring student. So the book covers the fundamental principles in Theosophy, such as the nature of human existence, karma, reincarnation, and the goal of spiritual evolution. It is definitely one of Blavatsky's more concise and readable works, providing a clear outline of theosophical teachings. We also have contributions from Rudolf Steiner, Theosophy and Introduction to the Spiritual World. Rudolf Steiner, as we've mentioned before, the founder of Anthroposophy, was heavily influenced by Theosophy. In this book, Steiner provides an introduction to spiritual science and the spiritual world, weaving in many theosophical concepts. It is a great text for readers interested in the broader impact of Theosophy on other spiritual movements and for those interested in Steiner's contributions to spiritual thought. We also have The Wisdom of the Overself by Paul Brunton. So although it's not strictly a theosophical work, Brunton was influenced by Theosophy and the broader esoteric tradition. So the book provides a synthesis of Eastern and Western spiritual thought, focusing on the concept of the Overself, which is the higher aspect of human consciousness. It touches on many themes common to Theosophy, including self-realization, the nature of the soul, and the spiritual path. We also have a book called The 100 Years of Theosophy, a history of the Theosophical Society in America, which was written by Joy Mills, but I believe it's currently out of print. But I just wanted to mention it because it is said to be a very good book to read to gain a deeper understanding of Theosophy itself. Now, Joy Mills, born 1905 and died in 1988, was a prominent figure in the Theosophical movement and a key leader within the Theosophical Society. She became a dedicated student of Theosophy at a young age and was mentored by influential figures like Annie Besant. Mills later served as president of the Theosophical Society in America, playing a central role in promoting Theosophy throughout the 20th century. Known for her intellectual clarity and spiritual commitment, she wrote extensively on theosophical principles, helping to interpret and share the teachings of the movement. So if you want to get hold of that book, you probably have to find it secondhand, but probably worth it, I'd say. Then, not so much books, but two authors that I just wanted to mention because they did write extensively. They have a lot of books, they did write a lot of books, and they all obviously revolve around principles and teachings of Theosophy itself. So the first is Annie Besant, born 1847, died 1933, was a prominent British social reformer, theosophist, and advocate for Indian independence. Mentioning her quite a lot throughout this Path series. She was known for her eloquence and intellect. She authored numerous books and pamphlets on subjects ranging from theosophy and spirituality to social justice and Indian culture. Among her notable works are The Ancient Wisdom, published in 1897, not the same Ancient Wisdom by Jeffrey Ash that I reviewed last month. Very, very different. This particular book outlines the core tenets of Theosophy. And also India, a Nation, published in 1917, which is a passionate call for Indian self-rule. Besant also wrote extensively on education and women's rights, founding the New India newspaper to champion progressive causes. Her literary contributions reflect her dedication to promoting spiritual understanding, cultural revival, and social reform. Then also mentioned Charles Webster Leadbetter, born 1854, died in 1935. Sorry, 34. Was a British theosophist, writer, and clairvoyant who played a significant role in shaping modern theosophical thought. He was a prolific author, um, wrote extensively on esoteric subjects, including works like The Chakras, published in 1927, which became foundational in Western interpretations of energy centers, and Man, Visible and Invisible, published in 1902, which was an exploration of the human aura and spiritual evolution. Ledbetter was also instrumental in the discovery and mentorship of Jiddu Krishnamurti, whom he identified as a potential world teacher. However, his legacy is overshadowed by controversy as he faced accusations of inappropriate conduct with young boys, including allegations of grooming and pedophilia. These accusations led to investigations and his temporary resignation from the Theosophical Society. If that does bother you, then obviously I would suggest staying away from his books. It's going to be in the back of your mind. It was in the back of my mind while I was reading one of his books not too long back. Anyway, but despite the allegations, Ledbetter maintained a devoted following and continued to influence esoteric traditions through his writings and teachings. All right, so those are some of the books I would suggest getting or reading if you want to delve a bit deeper into Theosophy. All right, and that brings us to the end of this month's Path series. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.